Topic number 1 of the day, my stolen car. So a lot of my friends have been asking me about an update on my stolen car. So I wanted to talk about the full story here on my YouTube podcast and fill everybody in with what happened, what's the story about what happened, where I'm at now with the whole situation. Also, I also wanted to talk about it on my podcast because I think this would be incredibly informative for people who don't live in a city, because I feel like my stolen car could have been prevented had I known about this information in advance. I had never known about this information before, and apparently in Philadelphia, this is just common knowledge. So I feel like this information needs to be out there if it isn't already out there for some people. So first of all, my car was a Kia. It was a Kia Soul 2019. It was stolen on Christmas Day. I didn't find out till the next day because it happened in the middle of the night. But regardless, it happened right on the holidays on Christmas. It was crazy. So just to explain why it's common knowledge around here in Philadelphia that if you own a Kia or a Hyundai, by the way, a lot of people don't know that as well. If you own a Kia or a Hyundai, because they're actually partners. I never knew that. Kia and Hyundai are the same creators. So I don't know exactly what year. You might want to do further research and have a field day looking up videos after this episode is over. But maybe roughly 4 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that, there had been this viral TikTok challenge that kids were doing where they were, oh my God, I just spilled my tea, but I'll deal with that later. There had been this viral TikTok challenge where kids were teaching other kids how to steal Kias and Hyundais with a cell phone charger. Now, I don't know the exact mechanics or the science to how this works, but basically they hacked into something where there was some malfunction in the design of these Kias and Hyundais. And by the way, I don't think it's all Kias and Hyundais. I'm pretty sure it's certain ones within a certain time frame. So again, you might want to do your research after this to figure out if you do have a Kia or if you do have a Hyundai, if your car is at risk, because there's some that aren't. But anyways, my car happened to be one of the lucky ones who were at risk of this. And I had only been living here for 3 weeks, and this happened so quickly into living here. When I told my friends from New Jersey, they were like, that's crazy. I can't believe it. That's wild. Are you okay? Like, they were like imagining themselves in that situation, and they were like scared for me. Like, they were asking me if I was okay and stuff like that. The people who lived in Philadelphia, they were like, oh yeah, was it a Kia? This is, like, of course that's going to happen to you. Like I said, this is just common knowledge here. Also, just to walk you through the story of how I even found out my car was stolen, it's just so simple and stupid. I parked my car in front of my apartment right on my street. So it's street parking here. I don't have, it's Philadelphia. It's city street parking. There's no parking garage or anything like that around here. The street where I live on, you don't have to pay to park. So it's not a situation where you're likely to get towed or anything like that. I remember the night before I went to bed on Christmas, I had gone out for something, and then I came back inside. And I remember when I parked my car before coming back inside, I actually specifically remember going out of my way to make sure I had like a beautiful parking job. Like, for some reason, I was like, you know what? I really want my car close to the curb today and not like sticking out in the road, because sometimes I could get lazy with that. And I was like, man, I don't want to get a ticket or something for that type of parking. So I specifically that night went out of my way to like have a beautiful, perfect parking job. Then the next morning I got up, I needed to run an errand, and I had slept in that day. And I remember getting out of the house by like 11 a.m. And I looked around, and remember, I parked my car right in front of my house, and it was gone. It was just missing. And there was a fleeting thought in my head, like, did I get towed? But I pretty much intuitively knew that the car was stolen, because I just knew, like, I knew it was a possibility, but I was like, wait a second, this is free parking here. There's no parking signs like park from 9 to 30. I mean, this is free parking. I had a perfect parking job. I don't see any reason why my car would have been towed. So I kind of intuitively knew it was stolen. So I called the police, the local police in my section of Philadelphia just to check, like just to double check if for some reason it had been towed, if they knew any information about that. And when I called the police station, the first thing they said to me was, "Ma'am, before you proceed forward with your story, is it a Kia?" And I was like, "Yes." And I was like, maybe they did find it, but no. They were like, "If it's a Kia, like 99% sure it was probably stolen, but we're going to come to your house to do the police report and check for evidence and whatnot." So I was like, what? Like, again, at this point, I never heard about the Kias and Hyundais being stolen. So the cops came over, they did the police report. I was pretty upset. Like, I wasn't like besides myself. But I was just kind of in shock and confused, because I'm like looking around my street. I'm like, there's a Mercedes right there. Why would they want my Kia? And I'm so responsible with like locking my door. So I didn't get it. And not only that, but I'm a very light sleeper, and my car had been parked so close to my house that night. So I hear everything in the middle of the night. It's so easy to wake me up in the middle of the night. So the fact that like I didn't hear anything, it was so bizarre. So the cops, they looked where they asked to show me where I parked my car. I showed them, and I didn't even notice this. They were the ones who pointed it out to me. I guess because the windows on a Kia are slightly tinted, but there was just broken glass that was kind of black all over where I had parked. And he's like, "Yeah, they stole it. Like, here's the glass. You can see it everywhere. This is like common evidence for this sort of thing." So, they called the towing lot in the area just in case that my car was towed for whatever reason. And they said if my car had been towed, they would have known immediately. It wouldn't be something they'd wait for. They confirmed my car wasn't there. So the cops confirmed, yes, your car was indeed stolen. At first, I was pretty devastated because, just to explain, I had been in some financial struggles at that point, because just to explain what I do for work, I'm a piano teacher. So money fluctuates. There's some months where I make really good income, and there's some months where I don't make a lot of income. And that's usually the holidays and the summer, because I teach a lot of young kids, and my schedule often revolves around the school year's schedule. So, for example, in the summers, my business is extremely slow because a lot of kids go on vacation, sometimes for months at a time, that sort of thing. And then around Christmas or Easter, like that type of stuff, Christmas especially, December is very slow for private music teachers because there's just so many activities, like family things, traveling. So business is like, I make half the amount of income. So during those months where I was making far less income because of my students going on vacation or the holidays and whatnot, I had relied heavily on my car to do part-time gigs with Uber and DoorDash and that sort of thing. That had sort of been my solution to fill in the gaps for those months in which I wasn't getting as much business. So keep in mind, I had just moved into this apartment. So it costs a lot of money to move into an apartment. Like, you got to pay for renting the truck. There's so many things you have to set up the cable and whatnot. There's so many things you have to do. So I already was tight. On top of that, my students were mostly gone for the month. And so my only source of income that month was supposed to be DoorDashing and Uber. Thank God it was only 2 weeks left of the month in which I had to make that income, but I really needed it. So when my car was stolen, I was devastated because I was like, I have 2 weeks left of this month. How am I going to make my money? You know what I mean? Well, I guess actually less than 2 weeks, right? Because it was Christmas, but still, like, the students taking off for the holiday kind of goes into the first week of January as well. So pretty much 2 weeks. I was like, how am I going to live? Like, how am I going to eat? What am I going to do? I was freaking out at first. So I had just, like, shout out to any of my listeners who had contributed to this, or any of my friends who had contributed to this. I put out a GoFundMe for $500. Like, I wanted to keep it honest, like, because I was like, all right, this is just 2 weeks. I don't want to, like, get more than I really need for the 2 weeks before my students come back, but I'm desperate. I need help. You know what I mean? And shout out to my friends and my family, whoever helped me out on this. I only asked for $500, and some people donated more than I had asked for. And that was actually like a really warming experience for me to see how much support I had in that situation, because some people had reached out like from years back, like old roommates, old friends, people who were like, I thought were just acquaintances, but had, you know, cared about me more than I thought. Like, just, it was really warming to see. This is getting off topic a little bit. I want to stick to the story about my car being stolen, but I do want to say this and get this out there. I feel like the last few years I had been telling this story in my head, like, I'm alone, I don't have anybody, I don't have help. But this kind of like changed my perspective. I was like, oh wait, I do have community, I do have help. I just, maybe I'm not always looking for it, or I'm not always asking for help. Like, for me to put out a GoFundMe, that was really hard for me. I don't often ask for help, you know what I mean? Like, asking for help is really difficult for me. So it kind of forced me to realize I do have a sense of community. It's just that I have to ask for it when I need the help. So that was really inspiring and warming. But anyways, to get to the next part, where I'm at now with the situation, because a lot of people who helped contributed to that fund are like, what ended up happening? Did you ever get a car back? What's going on with the situation? So it turns out that my car has never been found. The police did tell me that they often find these cars really quickly, because most of the time it's kids who steal these cars because of the Kia TikTok challenge. Like 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids are the ones who steal these cars. So because of that, they're not going to keep them. So most of the time they're able to, a lot of the times the kids will kind of joyride these cars and then just abandon them somewhere. They never found the car. So there's no guarantee or proof or evidence that it was a kid who stole the car. That's just the most likely situation. But if it is common knowledge for years now that Kias and Hyundais are being stolen, it's also entirely possible that an adult, like, person in a financially desperate situation stole the car and went to a chop shop. And it's probably what happened. If they haven't found the car yet, would be my best guess at this point, because if it was a kid, it would probably be found by now. But anyways, where I'm at now with the situation too, with the insurance and everything, because it wasn't found, I have Geico declared it as a total loss. I had been paying a loan off to finance this vehicle back when I bought the vehicle in, I think 2021, something like that. I had bought it not brand new, but with very low mileage in it. I think there was maybe like 10 or 20,000 miles on it. It was practically brand new. It was just slightly used. And I had been paying a monthly payment plan to pay off the car. At this point, I probably had 50% of the car paid off, and I had another 50% to go, which was roughly 12,000, I want to say. The insurance, the deal was they were going to give me the value of the car. That's how much they were going to give me, which ended up being pretty much exactly what the loan was. At this point, the value of my car was, I think it was maybe slightly more. So I got a check back of like a small balance of like maybe $200, $300, something like that. But that's what ended up happening. The car insurance just paid off the loan in total, gave me a little bit of cash, like check for what was left over for the value of my vehicle. And now I'm just back to square one where I don't have any car. I do have to say, when this originally happened, I felt like I was devastated, because I was like, what am I going to do? I'm a musician. What am I going to do? Like, what the you know? And by the way, to explain, I'm a musician. I have to carry around a keyboard to gigs and whatnot. So how am I going to survive this type of field without a car? One of my good friends that I really look up to right now, that's been helping me out with a lot of different things. She's very positive and motivational person. She had told me, I know this seems crazy now, but in 1 to 2 months, I can almost guarantee you this is going to be a blessing in disguise. In some way, you just might not see it now. So now that some time has gone by, she's absolutely correct. This has been a major blessing. By the way, not that I'm condoning stealing a vehicle. I'm not saying you should steal a vehicle, but it just kind of worked out that my vehicle being stolen was good for me. And I'll explain why in a second. A lot of my listeners know I've been trying to correct some financial mistakes that I had made over the years. I've been paying off old debts and whatnot. Keep in mind, this car was costing me probably in total $600 to easily to $700 a month for the following reasons. For one, I had to pay the monthly payment plans to finance the vehicle. 2, I had insurance on the vehicle, which was expensive. And then 3, the gas. So everything really adds up. And I want to say my car monthly could easily cost me between $550 to $700 in that range, depending on the month with the gas and whatnot, but at least $550 a month. So after all was said and done, and I realized that my loan was completely paid off, I'm like, wait a second. I live in a city now. There's trains everywhere. There's trains a couple blocks away from my house, or my apartment. It's a row house. I don't know. I guess you could say a townhouse, whatever. There's trains everywhere. There's grocery stores within walking distance. I work from home most of the days. Also, with the musician aspect of things, I have some bandmates that, again, it's like coming from a person who feels like guilty or scared to ask for help. When they found out about my situation, they're like, we'll drive you to every single gig. We don't care. And I was like, wow. So this is a major blessing in disguise, because I just remember prior to this incident, literally praying to God, like, I've been struggling enough with my financial situation for years and years and years. Please help me, So I'm not saying God would encourage someone to steal a car, but my car loan just got completely paid off because of this. And that's amazing to me. I'm going to be able to save so much money because, like I said, now that I think about it, I'm going to be able to get around by train really easily. It's very cheap to get around by train. And on those rare occasions where I do need to take a car for a long distance trip, or if I do need to take the train, but it's like horrible weather, I can grab an Uber here and there, and I can rent a vehicle for those long-term trips. And even that over the span of a year is going to save me so much money. So I'm not saying I'll never get a car again. I would like to get a car again because it would make life easier in many ways, but I'm going to take a big break from a car because I think in the meantime, while I'm saving this $600 a month, it's really going to help my financial situation. And I could invest that money into so many different things right now that are smarter for me. Because also in hindsight, in the past, I had made some pretty bad financial situations. And I think at the time that I had financed my Kia, I had a pretty bad credit score. And a lot of financial companies will take advantage of people in those situations. They will know you're desperate, so they will hook you up with a situation that's not really a good deal. So I think I got locked into a situation that wasn't a great deal for me. I was paying way more than I had to. They charge more interest to people in situations like that. So paying for the vehicle over the larger span of time, it was just not a good situation, and I was locked into it until it was paid off. So like I said, this was major blessing in disguise. Not only that, but there's another part of this that was really nice. I noticed within just a week of not having a car and being forced to walk around the city to run my errands, at first, like when I tell that to people, they're like, oh man, that sounds miserable. And people feel bad for me. But I actually started feeling mentally so much better because I wasn't in my car. I was out being physically active every single day, which is something that I hadn't experienced in a long time because I'm a piano teacher now. I used to be a waitress a long time ago, and I remember then I was so active all the time. Granted, I do work out, like I go to the gym, but when you think about it, that's 1 hour of the day. So I'm physically active 1 hour of the day, and then all the other parts of the day, I'm just sitting on my, for lack of a better term, teaching piano lessons virtually, and then I drive in my car. So what am I actually doing to get physical activity outside the 1 hour a day at the gym? And I don't even go every day, like 3 or 4 days a week I go to the gym. So having my car stolen literally forced me to live an active lifestyle where I had no choice but to walk around and get places. And almost instantly, like literally within a few days, I noticed a major improvement in my mood and soreness in my body because sitting around all day doesn't feel good. So I started noticing an improvement with just like how I felt overall. I felt so much happier. So not condoning stealing cars. Shout out to one of my friends. A lot of people, like, they think I'm lying when I say I'm happy I got my car stolen. They're like, she's just saying that to make the situation not as bad as it is. But no, I genuinely do mean this. And one of my friends, he gets it. He hates having a car. And he reached out to me and he was like, I'm so jealous of you. I'm like, that's the craziest thing. I never thought I would have somebody like tell me they're jealous that my car got stolen. And he was like joking around. He's like, you need to pay it forward and steal somebody else's car so you can help their life as well. So he's like one of the only people that actually get it, because he hates cars, he hates driving, and he has a car, and I mean, I don't know why he doesn't just sell it, but I think he needs it. I think he's a musician as well, so I think he probably just needs the car. But anyways, that's the story of my car. I really think people need to know about this if you don't live in a city. If you have a if you have a Hyundai or a Kia within this certain span of years, you need to look up this information on your own. I'm sorry, I didn't research in advance, but you need to check if your car is at risk of being stolen. And if your car is one of those at risk of being stolen, what you need to do, which the police actually told me that this is a very effective method, is you need to get a steering wheel lock. It's like this long tool that you can place over your steering wheel. I'm not saying you need to use this steering wheel lock if you live in the suburbs, but let's just say you happen to bring your car into Philadelphia, into New York City, into Trenton, New Jersey. If there's just certain, you might have a situation where you need to bring your car into a place like that. I don't recommend you bring your car to a city if you have a Kia or Hyundai, but if you do, or if you live in the suburbs right outside of the city, because sometimes you'll get people from the city like going out into the suburbs, please do yourself a favor and buy yourself a steering wheel lock. It's like a long skinny tool that you can place over your steering wheel. The cop said it's like 98% effective. They can't steal your car if you have that. They will possibly attempt to steal your car, so it's not going to guarantee that you're not going to get your windows broken into, but at the very least you can prevent the car from being stolen, unless you want your car stolen like I did. But anyways, that's the story of my stolen vehicle and where I'm at now with it, just to answer any of the questions from my friends and listeners who wanted to know about that, or just if you happen to have a Kia or a Hyundai and wanted to know information about that as well. Okay, next topic. This kind of transitions me into life in the city.